Hey everybody, I am here, barely. Please bear with me. I'm so sorry. But I'm new to all this YouTube live streaming whatnot and don't quite have it all together. Okay, can you guys see me out there? Anybody having any issues hearing or seeing? I don't even know if I can see the chat because there we go. Hey, there we go. Okay, chat is coming on. Hello from Seattle. Thanks, guys, for sticking with me. Thanks for hopping over. I don't know if I did this the right way. I think I abandoned my original scheduled live stream. But you know what? I'm here now, so that doesn't matter anymore. So would love to hear. Go ahead and comment below. Let me know if you're having any issues hearing this or seeing, if things are in focus. San Jose. Hey, Cynthia. So I have to tell you guys what's actually going on here. I'm in the studio, and one of our, you guys know I run Momental Designs. We do wedding invitations and all that fun stuff. And one of our employees is having a massive wedding on Saturday, and I agreed to do her flowers. And so, hey, hello from Nashville. Thank you. Okay, good. You can see from Florida. Awesome. So we just wrapped doing a ton of flowers for her tonight. There's like a group of 10 of us here. So hello from Sweden. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I have no idea what time it is there. So so if you hear some chatter, hello from Florida. If you hear the chatter in the background, it's just people hanging out, finishing up the flowers. Virginia Beach. Hello, hello. All right. Awesome. So I have a really simple setup here. My lighting is not the greatest. It's late at night, but here's the thing. And I knew this live stream wasn't going to be perfect by any means, but I really wanted to get online. I really wanted to kind of connect with you guys in a more personal way than just doing a video like I've done in the past when a book has launched. I wanted to really interact. So that's why I kind of cobbled this together. And this usually, this isn't my style. Typically, I like to be more prepared and have things be more attractive. And hello, Texas. Yay. But here I am because bottom line, I'm super excited about the book, but more so and more importantly, I'm just really inspired by the community here on YouTube with my channel. I have not posted a new video in probably 9 months. Hello from Tennessee, Sarah. Awesome. And so, but a funny thing has happened, even though I haven't, hello from Maryland, I have not been posting here. And I can tell you a little bit about why. You guys have been active here and asking questions and watching and discovering and rewatching my videos. And it just blows my mind and is so amazing that you guys are so inspired. And I love hearing from you, and I adore like really hearing your in-depth questions. So thank you. And I promise, Oregon, oh my gosh, you guys are all over. So I promise we're moving into a new season with the YouTube channel, and we're going to be posting some new videos really soon. Tonight actually is the first of many. So anybody, before I get started, obviously I have the book here. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but anybody have questions for me? I'd love to answer questions because as we move along in this live stream, I'm actually going to sit down. I'm going to be painting. So I'm not going to be actively Yes. I will absolutely show you how to hold the dagger brush for different strokes. I'm going to make a note for myself. How to hold the dagger brush. And I have my trusty dagger brush. There she is. So we will definitely get into that. The dagger brush. Okay, making my notes because my memory's horrible. So yeah, ask me some questions now. I am charging my other device. Like, I'm seriously so horribly prepared here. Charging another device so I can see your comments as we go along. So, but for now, ask some questions, things that you want me to talk about, things you want me to show. And I would love to do as much of that as I can. Okay. Awesome. Hey, does it matter the brand of paint? Oh, such a good question. And I love to answer it. Brand of paint matter? Okay. Hot press or cold press? Okay, I can answer that right now. So the question, the book, I love the front. Maybe do some leaves. Yes. Oh, the triangle brush. I have to dig mine out. Okay, you guys are so fun. So hot press or cold press? I use both. I go in phases, it seems. Right now I'm in a cold press phase. Cold press is the textured watercolor paper. Hot press is smooth. I've been in a cold press phase for about 10 months, I'd say. So now the books, all of my books are a hot press. So they're smooth. And really that's so that we don't have a book that's super, super thick and cumbersome. So you know what? Let me dive in. Keep your questions coming because I can see the questions now as I go through the book. I can see them. Let's start looking at the book. So, guys, this is the Art for Joy's Sake journal. If you know me and a little bit about what I've done in the past, I have 2 other series. Okay, good for the triangle or the dagger. Great. I have 2 other book series. I have Painterly Days. It was the world's first watercoloring book series. Really proud of that. And really, it still is an amazing adventure to see everyone use the book and how they use it. And it's been more than I could have ever dreamed. And then we have the Kristy's Cutting Garden series. So more artwork, more fun, more art lessons, and so on. So the next step in this journey, in this Art for Joy's Sake journey, in this learning curve, revolving around watercolor, is the Art for Joy's Sake journal. And this book, just the basics. It's my first hardcover book. Hear that? Very exciting. Same kind of beautiful, high quality publisher was able to make that happen. Just some beautiful detailing like this journal elastic, which was a surprise. I didn't know that was coming. I just posted an Instagram page, painted out of the spring cutting garden. Awesome. Make sure you tag me in it, and I want to take a look. Thank you. So love this detailing. It even has, of course, the ribbon bookmark. Let me find that one in here. It's tucked in here somewhere. There it is. So just some incredible detailing. I'm just over the moon about the cover. It was a happy accident. The first cover came through and we all were kind of like, meh. And so I painted the actual painted pages, the original artwork that I painted for the journal. So like this, and I cut a bunch of them up and created these little vignettes with those. Where do we get the book? So the book is out on Monday, the 28th of October. And you can already it's on pre-sale on Amazon and also on KristyRice.com. Now, if you purchase on KristyRice.com, you're going to get 2 freebies, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So also available Target. I think Walmart's carrying them online. And Barnes & Noble, of course. So lots of places. And of course, you can go into your bookstore and request and order them there. So let's dive in. The Art for Joy's Sake journal is your next step. So if you've loved my other books where I've given you a lot of like, watercolor in style pages like this, a little bit of instruction, this is the next step. It's less on coloring pages. Oh, thank you so much. But more on the instruction, the inspiration, some exercises. So let's dive in. Okay, we talk about materials here in the front. And the paper, guys, throughout the entire book is the same paper from all of my other books. So it's kind of like a mixed media / watercolor paper. It's a hot press, so it is smooth, but you can paint on it. The paint does not seep through the other side as long as it's water-based. So here's the first of many exercises. This one is my favorite. This is the one I'm going to talk about tonight, later on. We've got art prints. So you can literally slice this right out of the book if you'd like after you've done the exercise, and you can hang this up on your wall. And that's what they were meant for. This book, even though it's so pretty, and I know you're probably not going to want to tear it apart, is meant to be used and cut into and artwork framed and put up on your wall. That's what this is meant for. And then we start into the watercoloring pages. So it's all new artwork, not seen in any of the other books, double-sided. If you're familiar with the Painterly Days collection series, they were double-sided pages, so you had 2 tries. And a big, big thing that people have asked for is for, in the books, for there to be examples of how I painted a page. Awesome, thank you. So every pattern in the book, you get to see how I painted it. More exercises. And again, we go back into more, just some of my favorite quotes. Of course, make art for joy's sake. I talk about what materials I used on this page. I talk about how kind of the techniques I use to paint. The black background, right? It's so good. I'm excited about it. Thank you. I give you a little bit of painting tip called a joyful tip. And then the story behind the art lines up with these art prints in the book. So tons of information, so much for you to look at and dive into, and practice areas. You can paint on these pages. So that's really exciting. And this is a fun part of the book, a little different. I have 2 recipes in the book. And the point is to encourage you guys to throw a painting party. So did you always do artwork? Oh gosh, I've been painting since I was 6. The question was, have I always done artwork? I've been painting since I was 6 years old. So yeah, I guess kind of. I'm 42 now. So yeah, I'm encouraging everyone to throw art parties and to really kind of immerse yourself and your friends and loved ones into this kind of creative experience. I just did a photo shoot. Was it last night? I'm losing track of my days. No, it was Tuesday for the book. And I gathered together a bunch of people. Yes, right? Love the art parties. Gathered together a bunch of people who had never painted before and just gave them a quick lesson and watched them just have at it. And it was so exciting to see them discover watercolor and kind of burst through their fear and really enjoy the experience. And so a little bit of food and a little bit of a nice centerpiece, and I talk about how to put that all together here, can really be all you need for a fun painting party. So I talk about that in there. More exercises, more kind of behind the scenes on the artwork. Hello, thank you so much. Thank Idaho, awesome. This is one of my favorite pages, the pomegranates, so fun. So as you can see, exercise after exercise after exercise. Plus ultra, one of my favorite quotes, and it basically means more always. And it's not more material things. It's not more, commercial things. It's about always striving for more. So it's a quote that I love. I'll read a little bit about that quote and why I included it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, it exists now. Thank you so much. The dagger brush I use most often is a 1/4 inch. So a little bit about this artwork. Hello from Ohio. Years ago, the Hubs and I toured Font Hill, Henry Chapman Mercer's eccentric tile-laden home that was literally built, thank you, literally built from the inside out. Tiles featured the word plus ultra. They were set in a massive fireplace that caught our eye as we toured. And I just, the book is out on Monday, 28th. And I, ever since seeing that tile at this gentleman's home, I just fell in love. Hello from PA, Monday, yay. Okay, a beautiful dahlia. And here's the thing, I always hesitated showing people how I would paint my pages in these books because I didn't want you to feel limited. I didn't want you to feel like you had to copy me. But the cool thing is now that we've gone back to the double-sided pages, I still have your dagger brush from a course I took. Oh, isn't it the best? It's the best. Thank you so much. I did a courses a couple years ago, live streaming, and we had so much fun. And the dagger brush is part of it. So anyway, back to my point is that you have two sides. The paint will, but then please do the other side your way. So just moving on. I don't want to show you absolutely everything in here because what's the fun in that? Never be afraid to share your work. One of my favorites. Someone earlier asked, I'm going to stop on this page. Someone earlier asked, does the brand of paint that you use, does it matter? This page is proof that in some ways it absolutely does not matter. So every pattern in the page, I think there are 9 or 10, I use a different material. I used Daniel Smith. I used Brea Reese, sorry, said it wrong. I used all different things. The colors in the book make me happy. Yeah, they make me happy too. Thank you. I'm glad they do. So I used a bunch of different materials throughout this book. I used the watercolor markers from Zig. So this page, I used Crayola. And so let me really show you this. Now, do you want to use Crayolas if you plan to show your work in a gallery and it's going to be exposed to the elements and you're really concerned about the longevity of your work? No, definitely not. But I always say, people will say to me, but Kristy, I don't have the money to invest in expensive watercolors. I get that because they are stupid expensive. But you don't have to have the best of the best to paint on any given day. Don't ever let your lack of good, quote unquote, good materials prevent you from picking up a brush. So Crayolas. And we got this result. Incredible. So, okay. This is one of my favorite pages also. This was using watercolor inks from Brea Reese. And they're going to be doing a fun giveaway with me on Monday. So keep an eye out for that. I will definitely, when this is over tonight, I'm going to list a whole bunch of information in the info section. I hope I can figure out how to do that properly. But we're going to have a bunch of giveaways this week upcoming. Prima water. I've never used Prima. But I've heard really good things. Yeah. So took a little tour through the book. Oh, let me show you the back because it's really fun. There it is. And we also have a set of note cards coming out. I'm looking around to see if I have a set here. I'll try to find them. A set of note cards coming out as well. Oh, I'll just slice them open. And for you guys who have my other books, you might really love this. It's my favorite patterns from my other book series made into 5x7 note cards. They've got fun frames on the back, so you might remember this one, the anemones. This pattern, I painted this pattern on a YouTube video, and it was had 50,000 views. It was insane. So that as well on Monday, Amazon carrying it. I'm also Do you paint the background first or in the end? Okay, good question. If I don't address your question, please remind me. Strawberry. So the note card set is fun. The paper is actually a cold press. I don't know if you can see it. We used a little bit of a different paper. There, you can see it on this. Really fun. So anyway, the note cards are out too. These, you buy one of these sets, guys, and you can have like 10 gifts because you can frame these with cheap little frames. Really fun. Cool. All right. Bear with me for a moment. I'm going to leave open a page for you to take a look at. Think of any other questions you have. I'll be right back. I'm going to check my other device because I'm going to start painting, but I really want to be able to see your questions while I'm painting. So I'm going to check the charge on my other device. Okay, there's brush. All right, not now. So I'm going to start on one of the exercise pages that I love so much. And I'm going to tell you a little story. Well, maybe not so much a story, but I'm going to tell you why this page in particular means so much to me. Just bear with me for a second, guys. I'm not able to see anything that you're posting right now, so I'm not ignoring you. Okay, that's not going to work. Technology is failing me rapidly tonight. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to sit down, guys. I'm not going to see your questions, but please hear me. After this live stream is over tonight, I am going to go through and answer every single one of your questions personally. So, and I'll pop up every once in a while in case you do have a question for me. But I want to get painting. So now you guys can paint along with me. Like I said, you don't need the book to do the exercise that I'm going to do with you tonight. So if you want to take a moment while I'm gathering myself here, grab some paper. It doesn't even need to be watercolor paper. Obviously, it's a little bit better if it is. Okay. So this page, I told a little bit of a story about this page the night I did the editorial shoot this week on Tuesday, and I started to cry because it means so much to me. So I'm going to read it to you, and then we're going to do just a little exercise on here. Make the first step the easiest. Very nice cards and book. Oh, good. Thank you so much. Make the first step the easiest. We've been told a lie, friends. The first step is always the hardest. You've heard that before, right? Well, I don't agree. It doesn't need to be. You see. So I want us to flip this concept of the first step is always the hardest. I want to flip it around in regards to painting. When you paint, how often you paint, and your motivation to paint. If the blank page scares you, and I know that even as I'm going through this book, you guys are seeing these blank pages, and some of you are probably like, what do I do? It's blank. Don't let it scare you. If the blank page scares you, what tiny step can you first take to combat that fear? I'd say fill a cup of water and set it next to your paints. Maybe get some water and paint on your brush and spatter some random color on the page. And right then and there, you've begun. So I want to continue this idea of a simple start, that small, simple first step that I truly believe is the easiest step if it's small enough. So you want to paint a flower? Do you want to start with one petal, one stroke? The first tiny step is all you need. So I told the story of, some of you know, my husband and I have adopted. We're not able to have children on our own. I'm very, very public about it. I don't hide it. And I promise, promise this story has something to do with painting. When we first started thinking of having a family and realizing that things the natural way weren't really happening for us like we had hoped, I was terrified because I all of a sudden had the choice. I couldn't just, get pregnant on accident. We had to choose to go after adoption. And it all at the same time became incredibly scary. And I kind of froze up. And I froze for a long time, 7 years. And someone during that time, it may have been someone just in passing, and they said, Kristy, what's the first tiny, tiny, tiny step that you need to take towards adopting a child? What's the littlest, tiniest, smallest, most seemingly inconsequential thing that you can do that would put you in the path of adopting a child? So nothing that would be terribly committal, nothing that would tie you down to a firm decision, but what is something that would just put you in the direction of what you think you might want to do? And so I said, well, maybe I could make a phone call to an agency I'd been researching. Yay, you made it. And so all of a sudden, this thing that was so scary, this idea of becoming a mother and, all that comes with it, seemed manageable because at that moment in time, it was only about making a phone call. So I started thinking about that idea in terms of how fearful people get when you ask them to paint, when they start on a new adventure, when they start painting and they've never painted before, or maybe when you've painted for 20 years and you've, been away from it for a long time. Oh, awesome. We have an adoptee. Awesome. So what is that first tiny step that doesn't commit you to expensive paint? It doesn't commit you to painting every day. What is that one small step that you can make? Even right now, as you're sitting here and you're watching me and you feel that little bit of a fire in your belly and you're like, oh man, I feel like painting, but I'd have to get up out of my chair and I'd have to go grab paints and I don't know what they are. Maybe that first tiny step is standing up, because I'm going to be here for a while. So if you stand up right now and go get some paints, when you come back, I'm going to be here. Okay. So think about your painting adventure that way. When it feels too big, when it feels too much, when it feels too scary, what's the one small thing you can do to head towards it? And that maybe doesn't mean that you'll paint right now or today or tomorrow, but maybe grabbing a palette and storing it next to a chair that you sit in often in your living room and just keeping it there for that moment when you feel inspired. Maybe that's the small step. So there's my story. I'm done talking. I didn't cry. Amen. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for coming on. Yes, I will link you for staying with us. I really appreciate it. So we're just going to do a little painting lesson right now. I'm going to use my dagger brush. If you've watched any of my videos, we aren't chomping at the bit to leave for you. For the flowers? Or is it both pages? So I've used this brush a lot. If you've watched my videos, you've seen it a lot. I'm going to try to get a little closer here. There we go. It's just a really versatile brush, really thin point up here and a nice edge here. So what I want you to do, if you have paints and you're painting along with me, we're going to just be making some marks on the page. One of the things I talk about a lot is not worrying too much about mixing your color, right? I'm sure you guys have heard me in my other videos, and you'll comment and you'll say, well, how did you get that color? And I'll comment back and I'll say, I don't know, because I don't really make a big deal of mixing. So something I love to do, I'm just going to grab a yellow on my brush right now. Nice and juicy, lots of water, lots of color. And I'm going to make a mark. Boom. I'm going to rinse my brush. I want to show you how paint easily mixes itself. I've got green on the brush now. Hey, so good to see you. Thank you, Karen. I'm going to go brush right next to that yellow. And I'm just going to keep going like that, rinsing my brush, grabbing new color, and going side by side by side. And don't worry about grabbing colors that are alike. I'm going to go ahead and put a red down, see what happens. And you're kind of overlapping each stripe with the new color that you're grabbing. And I want you to be watching and noticing how these colors are, without too much effort, are mixing together on their own. See that? Yes, this is the dagger brush. Yep. I'm just using kind of the broad edge with a good amount of pressure. And I'm just picking a new color as I go. See how the color just mixes itself. I'm going to go down a little bit further here so you can really see. Sorry about that. And keep going. I never worry too much about mix because watercolor is so dynamic, it does it for you. So there you have it. It's a really fun exercise to remind you of how dynamic watercolor is, to loosen you up if you're just feeling rusty. It's a great technique exercise to do if you want to create a really cool background for a card you're making. It takes about a minute, literally, to do. Now, somebody asked earlier about leaves. And I know my leaf video is one of the most popular on this channel. So let's just go ahead and make a really simple leaf. I'm going to use the broad side. Let's get focused there of the brush. So right in here, I'm going to start almost perpendicular to the page. Press down a little bit and then drag and press a lot. And as I go, lift up, 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 barely touching. And you're going to repeat that on the other side. Press down. Whoops. Ran into some water, so I'm going to make this a lot wider. Press down. Lift up. Now, when that's dry, I can add in some detail easily. And we can continue on with this brush depending on the angle that you hold the brush at, the pressure that you use. You're going to make different leaf shapes. I'm using the broad side with a little bit of pressure and lifting up just to the point and kind of repeating that again and again. And then I can attach these with simple marks. When you're working on these pages, and I hope you guys do have the opportunity to go ahead and pick up this book at some point, put it on your Christmas list, your holiday list. You know, obviously this exercise page is all about, you know, journaling a little bit. What is keeping you from really diving into your painting journey? And you don't have to write and fill this whole page. You can doodle and sketch and paint and have fun, and then, you know, do some journaling in between. So these pages are for you to do with what you want. I love making these really thin, wispy marks with the very tip of this brush. Let's go ahead and do that leaf again. Okay, I want to make sure you guys can see this. Yep, just move this up a little bit. Okay, starting with nice heavy pressure, and then as I drag, I'm lifting up slowly. That right there is a beautiful leaf. Boom. And again, color can mix itself. I'm putting a little orange on my brush, making sure those leaves touch each other a little bit, and they'll start to mingle together. Boom. Love it. A little bit of blue. You want to show up maybe in a leaf. Make a blue leaf next to your green leaf and make sure they touch ever so slightly. I'm rinsing my brush in between each color and I'm not mixing on the page. I've got a little yellow on my brush now and I'm going to dab in some yellow right into the real wet color that I just laid down, and I'm not touching it now. Letting it go. Let it go. See what happens. It's spreading and it's starting to mingle with the blue here and the green here and the orange, and some really fun things are happening. A little bit of red. Dab it. See what happens. Don't be scared. It's a journal page. Whatever you start on a journal page, you can continue on another page. Really fun stuff. So fun. Just grabbing a color that I found on the palette. And I'm just making random leaves. Okay, let's do the eucalyptus. That was a really popular shape. So I'm kind of holding my brush at an angle here to the page. Lots of pressure, starting to lift up right there. Barely any pressure right there. Repeat it over here. And there you have a nice eucalyptus. It's kind of like that silver dollar eucalyptus. It's almost round. I'm taking a little bit of my cobalt teal. Any green you have is fine. Any brighter green. And I'm just dabbing in. Dabbing in, just fun. You know, eucalyptus has that beautiful kind of, it almost sparkles sometimes, especially when the sun hits it. So you never know exactly what color green it is. A little bit of clean water and dabbing it over that bright green I just laid down. That's kind of mingling it. Use water and gravity to mix your colors. I'm dabbing. I'm not stroking. No, I'm dabbing. A little bit of orange. Beautiful. Another kind of leaf I love to make, you see, I want to make sure you guys are seeing this, is long and skinny. So starting with the tip, press down, drag, lift up. Tip, press down, drag, lift up. Tip, drag down, lift up. Put a little something in the middle there to connect everything. Tip, drag, lift up. Tip, drag, lift up. So fun. Let me just pull this up so you can really see. Any other questions, guys? I think I wrote down your questions before. I think I got through all of them, but I'd love to hear if you have any others. Anything you'd like me to show you. I told you this was kind of like open-ended. Ask me whatever you'd like to ask me. So I am here to answer your questions. It shaded itself. Amen. It sure did. I'm going to add even more in. Just dabbing. See if I can get this a little closer. Pardon the shaking camera, guys. Like I said, I do not have fancy schmancy setup, but we'll get her done. You can really see that. Left-handed and I have a hard time. Yeah, that could be tricky. How do you begin to think about page layout for black or gray backgrounds? Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. So for black, I do the black last because black is kind of the great fixer-upper Doing a black background is a great way to tighten up and clean up a composition that maybe got a little too loosey-goosey for you. So I always do the black last. And I often use an India ink instead of just like black watercolor because it's really, really a lot more intense. So something like this is what I use a lot of. Available now. What book? Yes, so the book is available on Monday, the 28th. You can pre-order. I'm going to put all of that information down below after this broadcast. You can pre-order on KristyRice.com, and you'll get free gifts if you order on KristyRice.com. I said to give you more money. Oh my gosh, thank you. You're sweet. You're so sweet. So yes, you can pre-order, and if you order on Amazon, you can get that book really quickly. But if you order from us directly, you'll get freebies. I'm so sorry, I just missed that last question. If you could pop it there again, that would be great. I want to get to the question about composition. How do you start to think about filling a page? Okay, it's a question I get asked a lot, and it's a question I do love. Because it's a hard one, but not as hard as you think. So when you're going out on your own, you've got a really, truly have a blank page in front of you, and you want to do kind of an all over pattern or composition. A couple of things that I think about, and this is really kind of simple off the cuff, so bear with me. I often work in odd numbers. So 3, 5, 7, 1. Think about it that way. Typically, odd numbers of elements look better than even numbers. So imagine if you have, 2 beautiful roses, but there's just 2. Your eye's going to go right to those 2, and it's not terribly pleasing. Add in a third, and it just relaxes the whole composition and keeps your eye moving throughout the composition. So number 1 tip, think in odd numbers. So 3 roses, 5 bunches of berries, 7 leaves, things like that. I'm simplifying pretty heavily, but I think it's a good basic rule. Number 2, I don't do a lot of pre-sketching, I'll be honest, but if I am doing a piece that is commissioned, a piece that is very specific in terms of what I want it to look like or what someone else has hired me to make it look like, I will do a little bit of light sketching, putting very little pressure on the pencil that I'm using so that I can erase easily. So that's more of a technical tip. Another thing that I think about in terms of the composition is, and typically this is for landscapes, but it works with patterns and florals too, is to not divide up your page in a way that you've got even. You don't want to, okay, how do I want to say this? You don't want to put an element that cuts your page completely in half, whether maybe it's a vine or a long stemmed flower. You don't want anything that's visually going to look like you're cutting the page perfectly in half or perfectly in quarters, or perfectly in thirds. You want everything in the composition to be asymmetrical. Mechanical pencils, you mentioned. Oh, yes. So you never, in my opinion, want to divide the page harshly in that way. So that's a really good compositional technique to think about. And the other thing that I tend to do when I'm doing all over patterns, that just really helps me, if you're someone who scans in your artwork, but even if you're not, if you just want to have artwork that's very versatile in the end, water reactive mechanical pencil. Yeah, I'll get to that. You want to stay away from the edge of the paper with your original piece. Don't draw right up to the edge of the paper. Keep all of your elements away from the edge. And that really comes in handy, especially if you eventually are going to use the pattern, have someone, pay someone to turn it into a repeat pattern. If you have everything right up to the edge, it's extremely difficult to turn it into a repeat. So just something to keep in mind. Your artwork will be tremendously more versatile if you keep it away from the edge. So now, Obviously with these patterns, it goes right up to the edge, but we did that by design. The originals of these pieces did not go up to the edge. So someone was asking about, it's a water soluble, it's actually not a mechanical pencil. I was in Rome a few years ago and went into a vintage paper shop, and I found these incredible, what I thought were graphite pencils, and they turned out to be what call a transfer pencil. And when you first draw with them, they look like graphite. But then when water hits them, they release an ink and look a lot like watercolor. So let me see if I can grab a piece of artwork here that I used that on. I don't have one of those pencils here, but oh yes, guys, you are getting an exclusive peek at some content for my next book that's coming out next year. I did a whole chapter using the transfer pencil, which you can still buy. They're still available. The vintage ones are the best, and I talk about that in the new book coming next year. So as you can see, if you look close, when you first put down the marks, like right here, it looks like graphite. But as soon as water touches it, it bleeds like this beautiful indigo color. So it makes for some really interesting effects. Stems and branches look awkward. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully that answered your question about the transfer pencil. I do think one of my videos, I go into that a little bit. So stems and branches, it's all about muscle memory and being confident in your brush strokes. I'm starting one here. And muscle memory is something that happens. Now, I'm no scientist, so forgive me. Only found in Italy. No, not only found in Italy. There is a gentleman that's selling the vintage version on eBay. And if I could find one around here, I could show you the brand. But maybe I'll do another video using the transfer pencil. So back to muscle memory. Muscle memory happens when you do the same action or a similar action over and over and over again. Your hand and eye coordination becomes very used to it, and it almost develops a memory of how to make these confident, convincing movements or marks. So the first advice I can give you is to dedicate 20 minutes soon to filling 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 11 page with some stems and leaves and branches, and just try different ways to make them come to life and just fill the whole page using different, like I said, different pressure on the brush and trying to repeat different marks. So for example, doing something like this and trying to repeat that mark again and again and again. And you're training your hand and you're enacting muscle memory again and again. So that is my best piece of advice, is to commit to filling a page with marks that you think feel convincing of stems and branches. For me also, it's all about line quality. You'll hear about line quality in drawing. You're welcome. But also in painting. And it's not, line quality. This line that I'm making right now isn't terribly interesting because it's kind of the same thickness, the same weight. But this line that I'm about to make is incredibly interesting. Hold brush up, tip her down. I often hold the brush pretty far down on the barrel, like right there. When you're back here, just have a lot less control. So I always tend to find myself holding the brush down here. So line quality with branches and stems is really important. the dagger tip. Sorry, I just caught the end of that. I didn't know what the question was about the dagger tip. So really thinking about the pressure that you're putting on stroke on the page and switching that up, it's going to start to give you some really interesting marks that I think will feel a lot more authentic to stems and branches. Awesome. All right. The tip up or the tip down? Oh, the dagger tip. I'm sorry. That's what you were saying. It depends. Most often I'm starting but there are times, here is when the tip is up, and you can make interesting marks like that with your tip up, whereas the marks with your tip down are more like this. Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions, guys? Anything else about the book? Like I said, I'm going to share all the info with you after this is over. But anything else that I can answer for you, happy to. And I appreciate you putting up with my poor technical situation here tonight. Awesome. Well, guys, again, I really want you to think about that particular page that we talked about earlier. I want you to think about a loose rose. Can you make flowers? No. This dagger brush is Royal and Langnickel. It is extremely affordable. It's about $3. So it is available. Amazon's tough. They don't always have it, but it's royalbrushart.com, I believe. And like I said, it's about $3 and just superior brush. I adore it. Guys were asking about flowers. So before I sign off, I'm going to go ahead, and I'm sorry about the triangle brush tonight, but I don't know where my triangle brush is at the moment. So I'll have to take a rain check on that one. Make sure we're focused here. Okay. I'm going to do a rose. So I'm starting with the tip down, making a few kind of semicircle marks, a lot of color pigment on the brush. And then I'm going to keep going around, lots of pressure there, drag and lift up. Same kind of idea. You never want, when you're doing a rose, you always want your marks to overlap like bricks would. See how this mark, you don't want to make marks on top of each other. You want the marks to be like bricks. So I'm just making these curved marks, pressing down, lifting up, and continuing that around. Some lighter, some brighter. That one needs a little bit more oomph. I'm wiggling my brush a little bit as I go. I've used probably 3 different colors by now. Spread that out a little bit with some extra water on the brush. I love adding in some linear pieces. Can do a really nice, almost like a rose that's really almost at the end of its life, where those petals start to fall off. Can start to add some of those in. I'm using the broad side of my brush and adding in some really floppy, pretty petals. A bit more out here. Just get some plain water on the brush and smooth out some areas, extend some areas, add some more linear areas. Again, using the very tip of my brush with these more linear shapes. Rose petals are kind of like these overlapping rowboats almost. If you look closely, see right there, little rowboat, little rowboat. And sometimes your flower just needs a leaf to feel more like a flower. So at some point, add in a really beautiful, lush leaf. I'm wiggling my brush, using a lot of water, and then dabbing in some extra color. Go back over here. Add some line quality here. This is the really fast and loose version, guys, but it's fun. I just keep going around, making sure I'm not layering these like bricks. I love adding wispy lines. I'm literally starting those wispy lines in the red of a petal and dragging them out. So that red kind of drags out into the line I'm making. So cool. Can you see that? I love, see how that's happening? That's a good thing. That's a happy accident. Let that happen. Let that happen. You can hear in the background, there's a whole lot of ruckus going on here. We've got 22 centerpieces getting put away. We are sweeping up the mess from 5,000 stems of flowers we've been working on tonight. So I apologize for all the noise. If you're just joining, we have a whole slew of girls in here working on wedding flowers for one of my employees. So that's what you're hearing. And another leaf over here. Any questions about what I did here? Anything that didn't make sense? Happy to answer it for you. Of course you do. That's the whole point. You want to get your paints out. Well, I'm glad to have inspired a bit. That means more to me than anything at all could. Something I'll let you in on a little Kristy secret, I guess. I tend to take a really dark watercolor toward the end of my flower. And guys, I paint bold, you know that. And I will add some really dark moments throughout. You may not feel comfortable with this, but it's something that I just love taking unexpected colors or adding unexpected dark areas. It's just fun for me. So a little bit of that. It's not a black, it's just scooping up some muddy color from my palette and letting it seep into some of these areas. You also know that line work is my favorite, so I add a lot of these little thin strokes. All right. So I do need to wrap up, guys. This has been such a blast, and I'm actually going to do more of these. The live is so fun. Figured out, but I do appreciate you staying with me, and there's so many of you here, more than I thought, so I appreciate that. And like I said, I'm going to get everything in the information section about pre-ordering the books. If you want to pre-order from KristyRice.com, you're going to get 2 freebies. You can order from Amazon or anywhere else that sells books. And the book is officially out on Monday. So really excited. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Karen. Yay. Oh, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And please feel free to leave more comments here about, like I said, we are coming up on a new season here at YouTube. So I would love to hear your ideas. You are very welcome. Thank you so much, Leanne. Would love to hear from you what you'd like to see in upcoming live streams or upcoming videos that I will work on for you. Definitely. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you joined. I really appreciate it. And I like to talk, so I hope I didn't drive you guys nuts. So anyway, oh, another question here. Yes, you're very welcome on the dagger brush. Well, I hope that this little lesson takes you over the hump of mastering the dagger brush. I don't feel I've mastered it, to be quite honest. So don't worry about too much about mastering it. Just get a handle on it and enjoy it. So anyway, keep an eye out for more info. We've got giveaways coming up next week on Instagram. You find me at Kristy the Painter. Thank you so much, Louise. I really appreciate that. But honestly, and I don't mean to sound cheesy, you guys inspire me tremendously. It's I just never dreamed I'd be doing what I'm doing, and I'm so grateful for it. None of it could happen without you guys, joining me and coming along for the ride. So thank you. All right, so have an amazing night, what's left of it. I'm going home to see my boys, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.